I don't think in every bad situation is a toxic situation.
Yeah.
I don't think every difficult manager is a toxic manager. There are, but not every difficult manager is one. So we've heard it all, right? Dramas, politics, favoritism, and we've probably seen some of it. But now let's find out from Deepa, who has seen this game for almost 2 decades, what she thinks about dramas, office politics, and favoritism. And not just that, I'm also going to cover a very interesting topic that some of y'all may be able to relate: toxicity. When you have toxic staff members, toxic bosses, or if you find your place of work toxic in general. Joining me today is a very, very special friend. Her name is Deepa George, and she is a HR specialist. And in all her years of employment, she has seen it all. Let's find out what Deepa has got to say about this one. How do you manage people? So I've worked with you on a few things, right? And I see how you manage difficult personalities, and you do it so effortlessly, you do it so well that I don't think I will be able to do something like that. First of all, I don't have the know-how, but number two, I think the way you present the idea, the way you speak to this difficult person, lets that person give you their ear, and they listen to what you say. Today, in the workplace that we have, the word toxic is very freely used. Toxic person, toxic environment. And I'm not saying that it's a wrong word, because there are toxic people and there are toxic environments. But if somebody is if a staff, very different, a difficult person, very difficult to work with, others are also having difficulty working with this person, they are rude, arrogant, how can a manager handle or manage this situation? What do I do if I have this staff member and I got to go and tell them and be honest with them about their behavior?
We shouldn't be talking about it when it gets to that stage.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I
Right.
go back to the fact that the leaders must be having ongoing conversations. We have to, we always wait till things get a little bit too late, and then we
Yep.
got to give difficult feedback.
Yeah.
Or when I was, previously in the corporations, they'll say, HR, can you talk to this person? She's not meeting this.
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
she's difficult to work with. Like, where's your leadership in it, right? So I think the first thing is the immediate leader has to call that out. But you can be kind in how you call it out for the first time, right? You got to say, Deepa, that the way you spoke to that customer is not going to bode well. It doesn't look good on our brand. I can't have people talking like that. So can you check this out? Now, when you're saying it for the first time, hopefully the person is not going to react. The person is going to think and say, what was it? You have to explain why. Because you were rude. You were not listening. The customer is trying to tell you what their issue is. So explain, give the feedback and explain why it matters. A lot of the time, people are used to saying, that's not the type of behavior you want. You can't be rude. Explain what was rude about it. Explain what is the reason why, if you continue down that path, customers may not come back. Our brand may be at risk, right? So that's one. The second thing is to make sure that if it happens again, we got to call it out with a little bit more firm approach, right? And you may even have to write it up. So to me, is the rule of thumb I use is verbal counseling. This is not the HR framework. I'm just saying as a leader.
Yeah.
First time you see it, got to call it out.
Okay.
Two
Okay.
things happen. When you call it out, the person knows that this is not acceptable. Number two, other people are watching. If you do that, you are condoning that, then why should anyone else behave?
Right.
So it's very
Right.
dangerous if you don't call it out early. Once it happens a second time, you give feedback again. The third time, I'd start writing it up already. And then they know that we're taking this very seriously.
Okay. And then what happens if this person tells you, that's who I am? You just got to accept me the way I am. I'm
Yeah.
not going to bend down or change to suit your principles.
Yeah. So then I will ask you again, what is the company's policy on this? Is it something that tolerates it? Is bad behavior allowed? And what is the extent of the bad behavior? Is it that they just work to rule? Work to rule means if it's 9 to 5 and I'm supposed to do A to B, I will give you A to B, 9 to 5. I'm out of here at 5:01. You
Okay.
can't do anything to them because they're still meeting the basic expectations of the role, right?
Yeah.
Versus you're asking for something extra. So if you're saying it's bad behavior, and if they say that's who they are, then you need to take a call, because if you've written it up, then hopefully the legal process will allow you to sadly to say, if the person's not shaping up, they got to ship out.
Okay. All right. Do you have instance where you've had to go and share? There was a difficult staff member, and you had to call them out on their behavior.
To be frank, I'm very grateful that I haven't had that
Oh, wow.
extent of a
Really?
difficult
Never,
team member. Not in terms of bad behavior, extended period of time. Immediate bad behavior, yes, where
Yeah.
they handled a stakeholder very wrongly, and that's what I said, because I addressed it at that time.
You didn't
Now,
wait for it to
Yeah, I
get-
didn't
okay,
wait
okay.
for it, so it's just I feel really happy that I didn't have to wait for that situation.
Right.
And when I called out that behavior, the person actually said, to your point, the person said, actually, I can't do that. I can't be pandering to the customers like this. And then I said, well, that's what the job requires. So sure enough, the person said, well, then I don't think this job is for me. And they chose to move on.
Oh, really?
So problem solved. I don't mean happily,
Yep,
but it
yep.
solved in a very feasible manner, because early correction made the person realize it's not something we tolerate. I was not rude to the person. I was very
Yeah,
kind.
I know.
But they realized that's a standard the company wants. And therefore, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
That's it.
So, like I said just now, right? Toxic, the word toxic, very freely used. Do you think you'll be able to tell when a person is toxic and when he is not? Because I don't think in every bad situation is a toxic situation.
Yeah.
I don't think every difficult manager is a toxic manager. There are, but not every difficult manager is one.
Yeah. And I think I don't mean to sound archaic in this approach, but I really want to move away from this word. Toxic has been used too freely,
Yeah,
right?
this is what I was saying.
But
It was just freely
it's too
used.
freely. But to your point, we must ask our question: is the manager really difficult, or is it that he or she is just demanding? And there's a difference, yeah.
Okay.
So being a demanding manager is something that I would welcome. I wish I was more demanding in the corporate setting that I was. I think I could have been more demanding. I could have been stricter.
Okay.
In hindsight, I'd be very frank.
Right.
But I was very blessed with team members that knew how to do their part. So I didn't have to, sort of to be in that sort of situation.
Yep.
Now, difficult is unacceptable. So when people say toxic and they're difficult, if the boss insists that the meeting is at 5 or at, 3 p.m. and somebody walks in late 3:05, and because they got caught in this rain and therefore they're 5 minutes in, the boss says, no, time is time, discipline is important, 5 minutes means you're late.
Right.
Come on, be reasonable. That's being
Okay.
difficult. But demanding that discipline is required, and which means before you're going to be late, 5 minutes before, please let me know that you're going to be late.
Very
That's
good.
a standard. That's being demanding in terms of a standard.
Okay.
So I think we need to separate the two.
Okay.
So demanding bosses is not a problem if they have empathy.
Very good.
They are demanding on results. I'm demanding on discipline. I'm demanding on show me your output. But I'm not difficult to work with. If you have a personal issue, if you have an issue that requires some sort of empathy, compassion, I will be that boss when you need it. So I think we need to separate and differentiate demanding versus difficult.
No, that insight is very good. At least people know at what point it becomes toxic and at what point it is just
Yes.
demanding,
Yes.
the demands of the job. And a manager would be a little bit more hesitant sometimes in being demanding to a staff member because they don't know how the staff member will take it.
To react.
There's also those silent killers that like anxiety, depression, which you don't know that they have, but later on down the road you realize something you said, something you got them to do, led them to have anxiety or depression. I know many managers like this who are very afraid of staff members that are quick to go down this route. So, is there a way that needs for managers to approach the situation, whether it's communicating a task, communicating feedback,
Yeah.
or demands lah? Is
Yeah.
there a way?
So like I told you, I like acronyms and stuff, and this is a very silly one, but it helps me, which is TOE, as in TOE,
Okay.
right? And what that is really about in anything you're doing, when you have a business deliverable to be met and you're talking to your team member, the first thing you got to do is to be transparent.
Okay.
So what is T for transparent? Transparency means if it's bad news because we are in deep, if we don't get this done, Be
Right.
transparent that, guys, I really need us to rally around and get this done in 2 working days. I know you think you have 3 days, but we don't. We got to do it in 2. Tell them why it's important. So that's transparency. Number 2 for O is objectivity, right? So be objective about it, right? Don't have your feelings come into it and say, because I want it, because it's for my. You need to be able to separate your personal needs. You have to be a little bit selfless as a leader.
Okay.
Maybe not selfless, but not selfish at least. Don't have to
Okay.
be selfless,
Yep.
but less
Okay.
selfish.
Okay.
So be objective about the reasons why it's needed. Be objective with your support. Okay, 2 working days, guys. Y'all can claim your meal allowance, and after you work overnight for 2 days, you can get the weekend plus 2 days off or something. Come up with something which shows your objectivity in that situation. And third one, E for empathetic.
Okay.
So you are first, it's all about the business. We understand. So you're transparent. And then you're objective. And finally, you're empathetic. So you must understand if somebody is a mother of young kids and therefore they cannot rally around and do this, then you got to let them off, right? So
Okay.
have some level of compassion. But I think in this whole thing, if you can speak to your team members in that manner, when you need to be firm, you go back to still being firm but being transparent, be firm but be objective, be firm but be empathetic. Nobody is saying let them get away with things,
Right.
but just I think approach that
Okay.
has helped me, and I've seen some amazing leaders and mentors of mine do that so well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very helpful because we have a lot of people that where mental health issues are big right now. So people are more receptive towards it, but they also use that whenever they feel too demanding or
Yeah.
too much of demands has been put on them.
Yeah.
So managers or directors right now are literally walking on eggshells,
Yeah.
trying to manage this situation.
And can
Yeah.
I just add to that, right? On the objective part. So good example, if I go back to the mental health.
Yeah.
If you are being transparent of what needs to be done, but if you're objective, you just have a look and see if these 3 employees are in front of you
Yeah.
and you realize objectively that actually the reason why employee 3 is feeling so overwhelmed and stressed is because, yes, I didn't realize I gave her 20% extra load.
Yeah.
That's taking a step back and being objective that, oops, yes, this has to be shifted around. So only when you clearly reflect on your level of transparency and objectivity, then with the empathy,
yeah.
you'll be able to to get a proper...
That was Deepa George giving us some real perspective on what it takes to stay employable and human in the working world. If you think Deepa George could be of value to you in the area of training, talent management, leadership, or coaching, be sure to look her up on LinkedIn and see how she could be of value to your business. I'm Josh G, and this has been Unfiltered Business, where we talk about the real side of work without the corporate filter.